Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where in the world you are joining us today, and you'll hear in just a moment why that's relevant. Welcome to the June edition of Connecting the Dots with Dr. Food, the fastest 15 minutes in food. I'm Charlie Arnot, CEO of the Center for Food Integrity. We help the food system build trust, and we do that with the help of experts like Dr. David Hughes, Professor Emeritus at the Imperial College London, expert in global food and beverage, and he doesn't just read about it, he goes and does his own research. He's been on the move recently and actually for almost a month. Today, he's joining us from the land down under. David, welcome.
Thank you, Charlie. Morning to you guys. It's late night here, of course. But I'm on the home stretch, Charlie. I'm currently in Adelaide, which is South Australia, and I'm leaving tomorrow for Bangkok, then on to London. I left the UK, 3 weeks ago plus now, and I've been in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and actually twice to Australia. But one indication that we're in a very, very uncertain world, Charlie, is that my first flight from London to Bangkok, was with a very big international carrier, and it was 1/4 full.
Oh,
I
wow.
haven't on that. Like every one of us had 3 or 4 seats each, and of course we didn't fly over the Gulf. We wended our way across what I refer to as the stans, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then across India into Bangkok. And European travelers, they don't want to go via the Gulf, through Dubai or Doha, for example.
Sure.
But they're not particularly keen either on alternative routes via the stans, the ones I was in. And not because of risk of war, actually, it's because of concern about cancellation. That,
Wow.
if the flights aren't full, will they go? And particularly if you're sensitive to time. So, no, it's difficult times.
Yeah, with a flight that's only 1/4 full, they probably didn't pay for the fuel. And there is certainly a lot of uncertainty everywhere in the world today. We're going to dive in and take a look at how some of the geopolitical issues are affecting everything from food prices to fruit and vegetable production to sheep shearing. Now, David, why don't you kick us off by starting to tell us a little bit about what you've experienced and observed over the last few weeks?
Right. Well, of course, there's huge fallout from the war in Iran, impacting the region. Let's start off, for example, it's a very, very big and negative hit to tourism. If you take Thailand, for example, well, 20% of their GDP is tied up with tourism, and it is low. It's also tourism is very high in Vietnam and Cambodia, particularly in Cambodia. I wasn't there long, but I know the country well. It was empty.
Hmm.
Just no tourists as far as I could see. And that's desperate for many people who just rely on tourists coming through, for goodness sake. Of course, right across Asia, they're very dependent on Middle East oil and LNG, liquefied natural gas, of course. And it's something as high, I was looking, 80% of oil moving through the now notorious Straits of Hormuz normally goes to Asia. And so as a result of that, they've seen huge spikes in costs for transportation, insurance, and not least, it has a negative impact on the food exports. You've got to remember that, let's go back to Vietnam again, that they're very big in food. They're number
Mhm.
two in the world on coffee, for example. Brazil, of course, is number one with Arabica, but Vietnam is the world leading in Robusta. And seafood, Vietnam are number three, China number one, and Norway number two, and Vietnam number three. And of course, Vietnam's big on textile exporting. Most of our training shoes, as we call them, I don't trainers, we call them, come from Vietnam. And also they're big on electronics and all of that. It's the high cost of energy. It's just pushed up manufacturing costs. And then, of course, just like everywhere, fertilizer costs are high across the region. And I think, just like in the USA, food price inflation is hugely politically sensitive, and in fact, doubly so, Charlie, in Asia, because many of the lower income households that they have a disproportional spend on food. If you're
Sure.
paying 50% of your household income on food, then a 10% increase is a very, very big deal. But I mean, oddly enough, I'm always intrigued, not just this any time I travel in the lower income Asian countries, to see that for them it's often cheaper to eat out rather than to eat in. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely different. Absolutely
Yeah.
different. So take us to Australia.
Right. Yeah, the concerns there, again, Iranian war based, largely the same as the USA. Australia is a huge energy exporter, but locals pay world prices for fuel and gas because they export unrefined oil and import refined fuel. Uh, uh, that, of course, makes the government, the Australian government, are looking at do they have the right sort of energy security, and they will be revamping that. What else do I notice there? I mean, just as night follows day, when you get food price spikes, it's always followed by government inquiries into price gouging. And you see that big time in Australia at the moment. As I've mentioned to you before, and you know, Charlie, that they've got two major retailers have 70% grocery market share. That's Woolies, as they call it, and Coles. And both of them are now in the High Court for allegedly using false discounting.
Mm.
The charges that the retailers they lowered prices when actually what they did was artificially inflate them, held them at high levels, and then ostensibly reduced them by slashing prices. It looks as if they're going to be proven guilty. Not good for them. Actually, this week I'm speaking today. I've just been speaking to the fruit and vegetable industry and the Aussie horticultural industry. I mean, I really like it. It's like the US. If you went back to 1947, there was a huge exit in Italy and also in Holland, two great horticultural countries, to either the US or to Australia. And in Australia, that was the really start of a modern day, and they've developed it so well, horticultural industry. It's intriguing because, of course, the Aussie horticultural producers, they just like the US, they're really constrained because of high prices for fertilizer, and they've cut back production. Well, so what? Well, actually, Australia doesn't import fresh produce. They've got very strong, very high phytosanitary barriers. And as a result, nothing comes in. So if they cut back production as they have by about a third, that means this season they won't have anything, and there'll be nothing coming in from Mexico, for example, to top things up. So prices are going to be really, really high next year. A reminder, this is my 57th visit to Australia. I'm surprised they
That's
haven't.
crazy. That's crazy.
I know, I want a passport. But it's a huge country. It's empty in the middle, and it's got this. It's a lovely nickname, which is the lucky country. Because if you sort of wander into the desert and dig down there, you're likely going to find some valuable minerals. But I like it so much here. A full one third of current Australians weren't born in Australia. So
Hmm.
where did they come from? At the top of the list are India, then the UK, then China, then New Zealand, and then the Philippines. And again, I'm intrigued. I've been coming here for what, 30, 40 years. And if I went back, 40 years or so, then I'd characterize that food in Australia was bad English food. But now it's sort of a wonderful mix of Asian, European, indigenous meal types. It's a great place to come for food. I recommend it highly.
Absolutely. Some of the best Thai and Indian food I've had has been in Australia. So I had the
Mhm.
pleasure of being there several times, and I've learned how important lamb is to both the
Mhm.
culture and the agricultural economy. It is, of course, important to British agriculture as well, but tell us how political pressure is having a big impact on sheep farmers. I find this just fascinating.
Yes, yes, yes. I was so the impact is in the UK, and I was thinking of a good old New Zealand friend of mine, Peter Burnett, who was unfortunately a New Zealand farmer. He's now long gone, but he was the Golden Shears champion, so the
Hmm.
champion shearer of New Zealand. So what? Well, let's go to the UK. Currently, just like in the US, there's strong political pressure to decrease the influx of migrants into the UK. And one particular job, shearing sheep, is almost entirely reliant on New Zealand and Aussie shearers who come to
Yeah,
visit our country. And we've got
hard
15,
work.
yeah, it's hard work. Oh my Lord. We've got 15 million breeding ewes, and they all need a haircut between now and about July. And an extraordinary small number, it's only about 100 of these New Zealanders and Aussies are responsible for 90% of the shearing.
Wow.
But yeah, exactly. But the government has said no, they can't have the visas. They said they're disappointed that we haven't trained up our own shearers. Well, we have to a degree, but they're nowhere near as efficient as the Aussies and the Kiwis. Our lot can do 200 a day, which is impressive in its own right. But Aussies and Kiwis can do 400 sheep a day, and they get about $2.50 a sheep, and they need that. But if you can do 400, that's $1,000 a day, and they can work through for over 2 months. Um,
Mm,
and and as you know, Charlie, if you don't shear sheep, they get in trouble. They'll
yeah.
get insect damage, and no, it can be very nasty for them. I'm just fingers crossed that we get a robotic shearing machine coming up. I know one is on the edge, but it only works well on sheep which are more predictable in shape than we've got
Yeah.
in the UK. I mean, I think we've got 60 breeds of sheep, and they're all shapes and sizes. So, but back to Peter Burnett, my lovely farmer friend. I used to watch him shearing merinos, those great big,
Yep.
really woolly, wonderful, fine wool sheep, and it was just like poetry in motion. He was brilliant at it.
Excellent. The sheep industry in Australia, I know, is going more toward a meat animal on top of the merino genetics, just like we've seen in the U.S. in the dairy sector, beef on dairy genetics to kind of get the best of both worlds and try to maintain more economic viability. On to
Yeah.
the topic of number three, which we're a little tight on time: British government prices and food.
Right. Oh, my Lord. We've got political trouble at home. Very likely we're going to change a prime minister, and that will be our fifth in 5 years, Charlie. That's like having five presidents in 5 years. Do you want that? Business and consumer confidence is really down. And we're forecasting by November 26th, that's so in 4 or 5 months' time, food prices will be 50% higher than they were 5 years ago.
Oh
And the
my.
government is just sort of focused on this. They're saying, look, we've got to do something to reduce food prices. And they're being stupid about it. They've asked the supermarkets to cap or freeze prices on essential groceries like eggs, milk, and bread. And in exchange, they say, if you do that, we'll delay rule changes on high fat, sugar, and salt products, and won't bring in the packaging taxes. And the supermarkets are saying, just don't be ridiculous. You don't cap food prices that they're
Right.
set by the market. And also, the government said, okay, well, we will remove tariffs on food imports. And again, the response of the industry say, for goodness sake, 90% of our food imports are tariff free at the moment. And the suggestion of removing tariff on 100 food imports would amount to about $3 a year for the average family. So absolutely nothing. But on the positive side, I know we've got a rush here, but summer's starting. I was talking to my wife 2 weeks ago when I was in Vietnam, and it was 95 degrees in London. I mean,
Wow.
hotter than in Saigon. And the fact of the matter in the UK is we don't do hot well. But we do have a booming solar energy industry, and needless to say, it's progressing at pace at the moment because we've got lots of sunshine. And I was taken because to woo their customers, they're offering much cheaper, even free electricity for running our appliances through the summer months. And in part because they've just got too much energy. And of course, with solar energy, you can't store it
Where are you going
forever.
to put it? Yep.
Where are
Yep.
you going to put it?
Interesting. Well, David, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I wish you safe travels home and enjoy the rest of your time in Australia. These are certainly interesting times around the world. We could certainly see more major changes in food and agriculture before the year is out. That is all the time we have today for Connecting the Dots with Dr. Food. Please join us again on the 2nd of July for the next edition, brought to you by the Center for Food Integrity. David, thanks again and safe travels.
Thank you, Charlie and Susie. Thanks very much now.
Take care. Bye bye.